So it's like, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Matty ICU, and I'm doing a podcast interview type thing. This is the first one I'm doing, and I'm here with someone. And do you want to go ahead and kind of do like a little intro?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a podcast named Independent Thought. My name is Desmond Price. And I also have a new show called The Left Wing that we do on YouTube. They're both political based shows. And yeah, we just talk about politics, the news, so on and so forth. There's political commentary for the most part. And yeah, it's been going on I've been doing Independent Thought for a couple of years now. And this Left Wing show is something that we just started a couple of weeks ago. So it's brand new right now.
Yeah, so I definitely gave it a listen to kind of catch up a little bit. So it's like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then see, didn't you also have a podcast before this? Before like
Yeah.
the past couple.
Yeah. So Independent Thought is my podcast that I founded in 2020. It's been going on for, over 3 years now. And I've done over 100, like 50 episodes with it now, had a lot of different guests on, and it's been very rewarding. It really has been to kind of talk to people from all over the spectrum, having people come on who just talk about just basically any kind of just like everyday politics. We've also had people coming on who are running for office here locally where I live at in Montana, and also people who are running for office around the country, people who are running for Congress in Texas and in Kentucky and in California. So we've had people come on from all over the country, and a couple of people who did getting elected here in Montana. So it was nice to kind of have on people who are running for office and then taking office here in my local community. So I kind of talk to them about local politics and how they affect us and so on. So that was really, really kind of a rewarding thing as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so like so what was the like cool what was the reason behind starting like this podcast? That was it COVID? Because that, like you said, it started back in 2020. Or
It was actually like before COVID. I started in
okay.
January of 2020. So had no idea that COVID was coming. But yeah, I guess I was a little ahead of the time in the podcast sense. But no, actually, I've been huge into politics for a long time. And I used to have lots of conversations with my friends, a couple friends in particular who were more like politically inclined. And we would constantly talk about the news and what was going on. And when the Democratic primaries were happening in 2019, I just remembered there was like, 5,000 people who were running for president at the time. And I thought the circus kind of around the primary process was a lot. I had a lot of opinions on it. And originally the show was supposed to be me and another friend, and we were going to do the show together as like a duo fashion. And then as we were kind of getting it to the point where it was going to jump off, he kind of backed off a little bit, wasn't as interested. So it kind of just became my project. And I just was using it more or less as like a way to vent about politics for a little while. I never had any intention of it like growing it or it being anything more than just like something fun. But over the course of 2020, it ended up building a small audience. And then I kind of, after I saw how the election turned out in November in 2020, I kind of thought that, well, maybe I could actually try to build something real. And, try to build a real audience, actually try to promote this thing, actually care about it. And so I spent most of 2021 just going all out, just trying to really see what I can make with it. And yeah, it's been really great ever since. I mean, it's been getting bigger and bigger and getting more and more guests, and now getting more and more notable people. I just had Andrew Yang come on a couple weeks ago.
That's pretty cool. It's actually like some of the stuff that he has to say too. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
getting someone like that to come on the show was a really big deal for me because I mean
Yeah.
he's famous
Yeah.
and he ran for president. So yeah, no, it's been going great, and I'm just excited for what's going to come next.
That's good to hear. But yeah, seriously, like especially after like 2016 and 2020 with all that craziness.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting to talk to people about politics nowadays, especially. But like that, sometimes you do get the people who are kind of crazy, I guess you would say, and take it
Yeah.
that extra mile, or
Yeah.
or far left or far right, like fairly extremist. But personally, I don't like those people too much. Like you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, so it's like that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I guess it's like politics and some of that stuff, and just talking
Mhm.
about like like who's going to be running for president next year. Which I heard some of the stuff like about Biden maybe going. Which
Yeah.
that's a big debate, and then Trump coming back and trying to run
Yeah.
for president again. But again, that's very controversial. Of like, so that one case that was going on recently, forget what that was now. Like, so did he like just get indicted for something recently?
Oh yeah,
Donald
Donald
Trump.
Trump. Yeah, we actually
Yeah.
we just talked about this on our show this week. Yeah, he got indicted for 37 felony counts for basically keeping classified documents that he wasn't supposed to keep. And the long and short of it is that it was something that he should have never have been charged with, in the sense that he had the opportunity to, these documents that he kept, he had the ability to declassify them. As being the president, when you're the president, you have the ability to say this is declassified, and it's declassified.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, then it remains classified. So he had the ability to declassify certain documents. He didn't do it for whatever reason, but then he still took said documents. And when you're not the president anymore, you can't keep them without
Yeah.
permission, but he did it anyway.
Yeah.
And then, so federal investigators came down and they asked him, they're like, hey, we know you have these documents. Can you just return them? And he was like, he tried to pretend like he didn't have them. and and then like they eventually had like went and raided his house, and they found all the documents, and they're like, you said you didn't have these, but here they are in boxes in your house. And and he tried to talk to his lawyers about it and try to figure out the best ways to lie about it. And then apparently his communications with his lawyers ended up getting unsealed in court, which almost never happens, because usually whenever you talk to your lawyer, like that stuff stays between you and your lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, a judge kind of came down and said, no, we're going to take all the stuff that you said to your lawyer, and we're going to put that into public record. So now we're able to see Trump actively saying that he knew he had it and that he could have declassified it, but didn't. And then he wanted his lawyers to lie about it for him. And so it's really just classically like stupid. It's a really stupid situation.
Yeah.
Like it should just never have been a situation in the first place. Like he could have just given the documents back, or just be smart enough to declassify them before you leave the White House. It's actually, to be honest with you, it's a really dumb story.
Yeah.
And I hate that we even have to talk about it, but it's also only Trump could find himself in this kind of a situation where he would do something that just absent-minded and then double down on it and triple down on it, instead of being like, I made a mistake, here's the documents back. That's all he would have had to have done.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously, I kind of just want to bring that because it's just how stupid that was. Because I do remember it being like pretty stupid when I heard about it.
Yeah.
But like again, like as you said, that's like something that I think only a guy like Trump could do. Is like, oh hey, like I'm just gonna keep these private, these classified documents in my house.
Yeah.
So it's actually, I think they said that Biden has like a few in like his garage or something too.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, that's also dumb. That like having a few classified things, I'm put in like a safe in the like farther in the house and not just leave it in the garage. Like, oh hey. Like,
I'm also of the mind of, if you're the president, you have teams of people who work for you. How does no one else around you also have enough like foresight to at least like protect you from your own like stupid decisions?
Yeah.
I don't, the whole situation kind of blows my mind. And yeah, and if Biden has documents at his house too, it's the same story. The only difference is that Biden's still currently the president.
Yeah.
So that he could just say, oh, well, they're declassified now, which is what Trump should have just done. But
yeah. But again, it's Trump. Like with him, there's always some type of drama. Like I remember back in 2016, there was a bunch of drama. 2020, obviously, with the whole January 6th thing, too.
There's always a cloud following Donald Trump, and it I'm not a Republican, but I would have to imagine that if I was a Republican, Ron DeSantis just looks like a better option anymore,
Yeah,
because if you're a Republican, Ron DeSantis is basically Trump's policies without Trump's drama.
yeah,
Or at least that's how it looks anyway. From an out, I mean, again, I would never vote for either of these people, but I would have to imagine that that's how it would look like to somebody who is a Republican.
yeah. So it's like I could totally see that with like and then which I think at one point even Mike Pence was kind of in discussion too for being the candidate on the Republican side.
Right, he is officially running now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's officially running now. The polls don't have him super high at the moment. It kind of seems like a two-person race, but it's also, June. So I mean,
Yeah.
these things can change a lot over the course of many months. They're going to have primary debates starting in August, and so there'll be plenty of time for people to change their minds. Polls go up, they go down. So I mean, I think at this moment in time in 2015, Jeb Bush was the front runner.
Oh yeah.
So things can change.
Yeah. And then like it so anyone like okay, so anyone like so anyone on the left outside of Biden, because obviously I think Biden is probably gonna be running again.
Yeah,
But
he's running again.
yeah. But so anyone else that's kind of bigger on the left that's also running?
Well, there's two people who have formally declared. There's Marianne Williamson. She ran in 2020, and she's created quite the following for herself online, especially on TikTok, and quite a bit in the YouTube spheres as well. More people who are kind of digesting independent news, who are getting away from cable news as being their news source and going toward these independent platforms. A lot of people are on YouTube these days to get their news.
Yeah.
That's where I get my news, particularly speaking.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and Marianne's built quite a lane for herself on there, but also alongside of her is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.,
Yeah.
and he's been building up a name for himself as well. I think even more so than Marianne in a lot of cases. Name ID helps with that one,
Yeah.
being Robert F. Kennedy's son. So, but yeah, no, there seems to be, while they're not polling super high right now, and I don't think either of them would actually beat Biden in a primary, they are both garnering significant attention, given the fact that they're running against an incumbent president. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that can increase over the next few months, or if they're unable to kind of build any extra momentum off of their current standing. I think recent polls have shown that Biden's getting around 60% of people's favorability for being the Democratic nominee next year. Robert F. Kennedy's getting about 20%. Marianne's getting about 10%. And then the rest is like undecided. So,
Okay. Because I'm kind of surprised that Biden's still getting 60% because like I've seen some polls over the past like year or two, and that a lot of people have seen that they don't really like him that much because of the policies and him obviously being older. And
I have been very outspoken about this online. I voted for Biden in 2020. I didn't want to vote for him in 2020. I'm more of a Bernie Sanders supporter.
okay.
When Bernie dropped out, I decided to vote for Biden, even though I don't like Biden, and I've tried to do my best on my platform over the last couple of years to constantly talk about the things that Biden does that I don't like. Just certain policies that he has, immigration policies, labor policies, just general economic policies. I think Biden's terrible in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I'm of the same breath now where like I think that his age is a problem. I don't think he should run again. I thought he should have stepped down. He chose not to. He's choosing to run again. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake. I don't think that he has demonstrated the ability to be able to handle this job. If we're just being honest, the man's 81 years old, and anyone in their 80s would have a hard time doing any job.
Yeah.
And we're asking somebody who's already showing signs that he's just not as sharp as he used to be doing the hardest job in the world. And he wants to continue to do it till he's 86 years old.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't make any sense. There's plenty of other people in the Democratic Party who could do better.
Yeah.
And I wish that somebody else would have challenged him, but there's a taboo in our society where you don't challenge a sitting president. We didn't see people really challenge Trump last time around when he was running.
Yeah.
Republicans weren't lining up to challenge him. So I get it, but I also think that it's a stupid kind of tradition to keep. I don't think that we should keep the tradition of, well, you don't challenge a sitting president, because I just think there's better people out there. I wish that there was somebody else besides Biden at the top of the ticket. At the same time, though, when you're talking about these polls, we're like, well, Biden's at 60% right now. I think it's just because they don't know Marianne and RFK. And also, if we're being honest, even if you did get to know them, they're not strong candidates either.
Yeah.
So it's more like a vote for Biden by default kind of a situation, because when I run polls on my account all the time, thousands of people will respond to these things. And I ask people, did you vote for Biden in 2020? Over 80% say yes. And then on the next question I ask, how do you think Biden's done a good job as president so far? He almost never cracks 30%.
Yeah.
And these are people who voted for him. Right. So like, it's not really a secret. His own voters don't like him.
Yeah.
They only vote for him because they're scared of Donald Trump.
Yeah. So see, I know for 2020, I actually voted for Joe Jorgensen. That he was like the third party. Like the big third party person. But I might be doing that in 2024 again if it comes down to Biden and Trump and like someone, because it's like because honestly, I think they're both not that good of presidents. And what's actually so funny enough that you bring up Biden's age being 81. I actually I was talking to a buddy of mine about, we should actually put like an age limit on presidents and like senators and stuff. Like, once you hit like, I don't know, like 75 or 70, you can't run for president anymore.
Right. And people will make the argument that that's ageist. And I always like to point out the fact that no one seems to have that opinion about the fact that there's lower age limits when it comes to running for office. Because as you know, you can't run for Congress until you're 25. You can't run for Senate until you're 30. And you can't run for the presidency until you're 35. So I got to tell you, at age 35, you're not any more intelligent than you probably were at age 25. Cognitively speaking, your brain stops developing at the age of 25. So to put those age limits on it in the lower sense, no one ever seems to have a problem with it. But when it comes to the upper sense, we all seem to be getting into hysteria about it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think 75 is a pretty clear cutoff. Just go live the twilight years of your life. Go enjoy retirement. I mean, we need to be sure that the people who are making the most important decisions in the country are actually capable of it. When we're seeing things in our government where you have people into their 80s still doing jobs like being a senator, I just don't think it's the right decision. And that includes even someone like Bernie Sanders, who I still like. I like Bernie Sanders, but he's in his 80s now. It's probably time to retire.
Yeah, I mean, if someone like Bernie Sanders does get elected, that what are the chances that he makes it past the first term and is still alive and living?
I mean, actuarially, he has you have a very strong, as men, very strong chance of dying in your 80s. I mean, we all know that. That's a normal life expectancy. So it's not like we're saying anything that we all don't already know. And then you're adding on top of that the stress of the hardest job in the world. Of course, it's going to put a wear onto anyone's heart. It's just, we're not trying to be mean about it. It's just, those are the facts, and you can't ask us to ignore that.
Yeah. So it's because I know recently that scientists have been saying that this younger generation, so Gen Alpha, maybe parts of Gen Z, is that some of them are expected to live up to 120 or something like that, just because of medicine. But yeah, so it's apparently because of medicine and all this technology we have now, and that I guess they try to calculate the pace that we keep going on now, that that medicine can probably keep people alive past 100. But most of these people obviously grew up 50s, 60s, 70s, back when all the medicine and all this stuff wasn't there, or all this info wasn't there to keep healthy. That makes sense. So Yeah, so see, I just don't see someone like Booney or like Biden or even Trump, because I think Trump's like what, 78 or like
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, no, he's at the age, I think, 77, 78.
Yeah. So it's like I definitely wish that we had someone younger, and that's why I liked Sergane, since I loved him as I like some of his policies. And I kind of
Mhm.
wish like he didn't drop out, but obviously he did. And then yeah, it's about it. I mean, like I just don't like how that we have to listen to these people who grew up in a different time telling us how to be and telling us like that these are the laws. And yeah.
Yeah, well, they're just out of touch, and this is true, both on the left and the right. You
Yeah.
see politicians, Democrats and Republicans, they don't even understand their own voters
Yeah.
because there's such a wide gap between their lived experiences and ours. I mean, at the end of the day, the millennial and Gen Z crowd, we now outnumber the Gen X and the baby boomers. So it's
Yeah.
just, we have like, I mean, I have to look at the numbers, but I feel like there may be less than 10 of them in Congress. Like, as far as millennials and Gen Zs, there's less than 10 of them out of 535 people. Makes
Yeah.
no sense.
Yeah, it does. And like, especially for a country like ours where, there was like what, like 400 million people, give or take.
350, but yeah.
Okay. So it's like, so this is right. It's kind of weird how we have it set up in America, just because it's like that with like then this very, very small percentage of people
Yeah.
tell over 300 million people what to do.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
No, I think change needs to happen, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of barriers in the way that kind of prevent change from happening, unfortunately. And doing this work that I've been doing, a lot of that stuff becomes a lot more evident than it did
Yeah.
when I was paying attention in a more casual fashion over the years.
Yeah, so say I definitely am more casual when it comes to politics, and like I definitely try to learn about it and keep up to date, because obviously politics affects everybody.
Yes.
And so, which I know some people that don't care, that don't vote, and that annoys me. But then, like, I also know people that are the complete opposite and take it
Yeah.
way too seriously. And so obviously, that you seem like that you're very level-headed, and that you're kind of in the middle, where it's like, okay, see, I can enjoy talking about it, but it's not too bad.
Yeah. Well, I definitely get into it, but I think it's also important to know also how to just be normal occasionally,
Yeah.
and just, when I go out in public, for instance, and I'm like hanging out with friends, I'm never talking about it unless someone like actively brings it up to me. But like usually, it's one of those things where you want to leave that stuff at home more or less, or at least
Yeah.
that's what I try to do, because when I talk about it all day, every day, the last thing I want to do is also bring it out to like my social life.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, so that's what I try to do. So it's like, because obviously, yeah, like it affects us, but like I still just want to have fun and like chill, or watch some sports, or watch like a movie somewhere, just have
Yeah.
fun with it. What's that? Some people, like my uncle, since I'm calling him out right now, but so see that. So it's like he talks about all the time, and like he gets super mad about it, and like obviously that people like that do, and that they block people or get, say stuff that they don't really mean, or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a hard life to live, when you're in the weeds politically all the time. I know I feel that. Um, Trying to build audiences online, for instance, you run into a lot of nasty people, who, obviously when you take a position on politics online, you're always going to incur the wrath of all the people who disagree with you. And dealing with those people on a day in and day out basis, it's can take a toll on you after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it's like I actually have a situation here. So I don't know, I thought of this beforehand, but so it's like that. What? So say that. What are some things that you would change if you were to become president, or become like into like a position of power like that?
Oh God. Well, I guess it would depend on the position of power. Should we go with specifically president?
Yeah. Let's do president from now on.
Oh wow. Honestly, I've never really thought about it. There's so many things I think need to change in the country. Um, but I'd probably start. I think I'd probably start with healthcare. I think People, and this is maybe a longer conversation than we have time for, but people give a really hard rap in this country to the idea of something like universal healthcare. And I I believe that we need it. I really do. And I know that people like to talk too about it, saying like, oh, well, you don't really want the government in charge of your healthcare. And I think that's kind of a misnomer to a degree, because for one, basically how the government would interact with healthcare in this situation is not like they would be going into hospitals and actually like sending in like regular like government people to now be your nurse and your doctor. Like obviously your nurses and your doctors would all still be in your hospitals and your clinics. The only difference is that instead of like an insurance company paying the bill after the visit was over, the bill gets paid by the government instead.
Yeah.
Right. And then people talk about like, oh, well, your taxes are going to go up because of it. And that's true. But also, what they don't mention is that, well, you wouldn't be paying for medical insurance anymore.
Yeah.
And so the real question is the increase in taxes going to end up being less or more than what you were paying in insurance premiums before, and your copays and your deductibles and your out of pocket costs? And does that, when you combine all that together, is that cost more than your higher taxes? And the question is, for basically everybody else who has this system, the question is yes. So yeah, they pay more in taxes, but they also don't pay all those other costs, which means they actually end up paying less for healthcare.
Yeah.
And so when I think about the fact that the number one like cause in our country for bankruptcy every year is medical bankruptcy, people going bankrupt because they can't pay their medical bills. I just think that our society as a whole would work a lot better if people didn't have to deal with that. You would also not have people staying in jobs they hated, because a lot of people stay in jobs they hate because of the benefits, right?
Yeah.
Because like I have health insurance here, they give me health insurance. It's like you wouldn't have to worry about that if we had universal health care. You wouldn't be staying in jobs you hated for that reason. And also, for a small business standpoint, small businesses have to pay a lot of money to give health insurance to their employees. They accrue a lot of that cost. That's gone for them too, because now they don't have to worry about giving their employees health insurance.
Yeah.
So, I think in so many different ways, it ends up, I think, being a net benefit. I know people talk about like wait times and things like that, but there are over 30 countries in the world, and they're all like our allies, no like radical nations like the UK and France and Israel, like South Korea, Japan, like these people, Australia, they all have it. And there's no like fervor in the country where they're like, yeah, we need to get rid of it. Like you don't hear anyone talking about, we got to get rid of this thing. They all defend it. And so when I see that, it just tells me that the only reason that we don't have is because insurance companies in this country are making too much damn money. And so they're lobbying the hell out of our government to make sure that it stays in place.
Yeah, I mean, that's just big pharma in general. Like, like that, like you look at a lot of these companies that make like medications that like, like that they pay like, like a few cents to get like some pills made, and then that they upcharge you a lot. Like that guy that what was it, like 3,000% for like insulin, or like for
EpiPens. No,
Yeah.
that's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, insulin is literally 10 times more expensive here in America than it is in Canada.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, like the lobbyists in this country who have been able to essentially legally bribe both Democrats and Republicans to keep this system in place have done so at the advantage of themselves and their employers, so that they can make lots of money, and the rest of us have to deal with the crappy system that essentially is just bludgeoning us to death with costs that we don't need to be paying.
Yeah. So I agree. So it's like I think healthcare is like probably like the biggest one, because like actually, see, I don't have it right now. It's just like that's why I'm looking for a new job and stuff.
Yeah.
But like so it's like I do think that so that we could benefit just from like all the doctors we have too. I think that can make it better, because it's like that we have a lot more doctors than Canada, than the UK, than like Australia, than all that. So I think like as long as we can keep all those doctors that we have now, and then add that system out, like I think it could work out perfectly for us.
I think so. I mean, the fact of the matter is that any system is going to have issues.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt about it. So if you implemented universal healthcare, will there be problems with it? Sure. But there's problems with our current system. The real question is, would there be less problems? And will you have, and more importantly speaking, isn't it worth it so that there aren't people literally going bankrupt every
Yeah.
year for just going. I mean, imagine just getting sick and then going to the doctor, and then, you know, like basically you become bankrupt after that.
Yeah.
And then your life's over. Your life
Yeah.
is over for getting sick. And that these are the kind of things that I think just need to change.
Yeah. Once again, like that, sadly, there's way too many things that can change. What's, you know, which I'm all
Right.
for making money. So like, I'm all for making money. But that there's people like Big Pharma or like all these billionaires like Trump, like Gates, Jobs, Musk, like all of them who take advantage of the system and kind of fuck over like that middle class and lower class, which I do not like. So it's like that. Okay, like I love making money, but to say, you know, that we definitely do need a new system with like some new laws or some new rules that,
Yeah.
so then that these big billionaires don't like pay taxes, obviously, because it's like that some of them don't, like Trump.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like obviously there's a lot of things we need to fix on the system, which again, like as you said, that nothing is perfect.
No,
And
nothing.
so nothing will ever be perfect. So
No, I mean, nothing will ever be perfect, but we can, if there's an option to make it better, we should be taking that option.
yeah. All right, so actually, I'm going to stop it here because it says I have a minute left for this meeting. So thanks for watching. See you next time.